So this block has the crank in it and the front and rear structure on it, and got it back from the machine shop. It was dipped, hot tanked. I scaled all the nasty rust off it, and I was trying to get it clean. These are the where you drop the bores, where you drop the liners in. It had liner lower entry inserts installed because of the pitting, and later on there's a part of the video where I mentioned how tight it is, and it's it was the first block that I had sleeved, the lower entry sleeve, and it was a lot tighter than a block that had not been sleeved and that I just cleaned out. It was I don't know, it was just something to think about. Right there, all the throws on the crank, I wrap around them and tape them, and it helps protect everything when I'm putting the crank in there. And I just, after I clean the crank out with solvent and blow it out, I just try to keep it as clean as I can. There's always like lint and stuff from the rags, but you really want to keep dirt and dust and grime and anything metal out of there from scoring up the crank and messing up your bearings. I always feel like when you get to do an out of frame and you get to do a complete engine from just a bare block up, you really want it to be like brand new, and it'd just be a shame to screw up anything. Here I was trying to get some pictures of the front and rear structure where I glued from about the bottom bolt hole down on the gasket material, or on the gasket surfaces. I used just gray silicone, but right there's the excess gasket hanging out, and you just trim that off. But I always want that just to be no gaps in the gasket there, where your pan and your block and your rear structure all meet up. Here I'm just showing the liner packs and organizing them, and how you just install the color-coded O-rings. And it's really cool because they actually say on there oil and middle and water or whatever, or coolant, and it's a color code. Right here, my girlfriend was making fun of me. I was trying to show the cleanliness. There was a speck of dirt on there, and I was spraying it off, and I'm like, she's going, "Man, you're overdoing it with the brake cleaner on one speck of dirt." And I go, "You try to film this stuff and use brake cleaner at the same time. It's kind of awkward. Everything takes coordination, there's mechanical coordination, and then there's mechanical coordination with a camera or an iPhone in your hand. Here I'm just using the tool to kind of press in the
Ooh, those are tight.
liner packs. You want to do it real slow. You don't want to send your piston shooting down at your crank. It's kind of a critical thing too. It's time to be real careful and not score up your crank. Put a big divot in it. Also, I'm sitting here trying to film this. This is the upper seal that you put this oil on here, and it expands. But I'm filming this, and I didn't have permission from my boss to film it. I just figured I'd take a few pictures and film here and there on one of my overhauls, and didn't think it would be a big deal. But it made me nervous when I was filming it. Like, I didn't want to sit there goofing around with my phone when my boss walks by. So you just seat those on there, and make sure you don't twist any of these O-rings. Make sure they're all seated in the grooves. Right, that's the soap, or we actually use the cat stuff. And I think the more the better, and the cleaner the better. So I'm really making sure that those lower entries in the seal surfaces are nice and clean and not gritty. And this is just me turning the engine so I can get the crank lined up, because even if the piston drops, if you have the crank lined up right and you have your bearing on your rod, it'll it'll go right on the I guess the journal of that crank without dinging it up. If the edge hits it, and it's not going to be a nice ding in your crank. If it drops down and it kind of centers itself if you're lined up with your crank, you know. We use 105 lubricate usually on the bearings, just to keep them lubed while we're turning the engine and putting the engine together and everything. And it's good, especially if you don't pig the motor before you start it. It'll stay there. Oil's fine too, especially if you're pigging the thing, which is pumping the oil into an oil passage that lubes it, everything, which is a really good thing.
What's
to
that?
do. But yeah, you don't want to be turning the engine and starting the engine on dry bearings.